At the same time, I noticed my wife was becoming distant. When I wanted intimacy, she would tell me to rest or complain about being tired. This worried me, so I decided to talk to her. She said she was just stressed about my illness, but I found that hard to believe. When people are worried, they don't push their partners away, but that's exactly what she was doing. To distract myself from all the stress, I buried myself in work. I was so busy that I started skipping meals and sometimes forgot to take my medicine. Of course, this took a toll on my health, and eventually I got seriously ill again and was hospitalized. This time, my wife saw what I was going through. I was hospitalized for a week, and the doctor made it clear that if I didn't start taking my health seriously, things would spiral out of control. He recommended I take a break from work because the stress was making things worse. But taking a break was nearly impossible for me. I don't work for just any corporation. The company I work for belongs to my close friend. He founded it back in college. When he invited me to join, I wasn't sure if it would be successful, so I got a regular job instead. But 5 or 6 years later, his company started making good money, and he offered me a high ranking position with a great salary. I accepted, and since then, I've treated the company as my own. I manage an important part of the business and take full responsibility for its growth. After my second hospitalization, I took a short break, then went back to work. One day, I was discussing my test results with my doctor over the phone when my friend overheard the conversation. He was furious that I had kept my illness a secret and was still overworking myself for the company. He insisted that I take time off until I fully recovered. That's when I told him about my situation. I wasn't sure if I would ever be able to return to work, so I wanted to make as much money as possible to secure my family's future. I hadn't even talked about this with my wife, but I had a bad feeling about my health. I felt like it was getting worse, and in that situation, all I wanted was to earn enough money so my wife could maintain her lifestyle. My friend reassured me that if anything happened to me, he would take care of my family financially. That was a huge relief, but I didn't want to burden him. However, he insisted that I take 6 months off with full pay and that if I wanted, I could work from home occasionally. When I got home and told my wife I wouldn't be going to work anymore, she immediately asked if I had been fired. I sarcastically said, "Yeah, because my health is getting worse." I tried to lighten the mood with a joke, but her first reaction was, "Are you dying?" That broke my heart. How could she be so indifferent? But I decided to play along and said, "Yes." She asked how much time I had left. I told her I didn't know, but the doctor said maybe 6 or 7 months, maybe less. I thought she would cry or show some kind of emotion. I even expected to find her reaction funny, but she was completely cold. All she said was, "How will I manage financially?" "You don't have enough savings to support me. I've been telling you to quit your friend's company and get a job abroad where they pay more. If you had listened to me, we'd have enough money, and I could live normally." The point was, she didn't care that I was dying. She cared that I was dying poor and leaving her with nothing. I wanted to reassure her by telling her about my shares in the company, which would ensure she had a good life if anything happened to me. But I held back. I was curious to see what she would do next. I don't think I mentioned that I received a significant share in the company when we hit our first major milestone. Today, its value is around $1 million, and as the company continues to grow, it will be worth even more. I wanted to reassure her by telling her about my shares in the company, which would ensure she had a good life if anything happened to me. But I held back. I was curious to see what she would do next. I don't think I mentioned that I received a significant share in the company when we hit our first major milestone. Today, its value is around $1 million, and as the company continues to grow, it will be worth even more. From that moment on, my marriage was effectively dead. All our conversations became purely transactional. My wife never even asked about my health. I watched as she left in the morning and came home late at night, mostly eating out, even though she didn't have a full time job. She works as a nail technician in a beauty salon, but only during the busy season. All of this worried me, but I focused on my health. Then, last month, my wife asked me when we would be getting a divorce. My world collapsed. Divorce was the last thing I wanted to deal with in my condition. I was speechless. She said there was nothing surprising about it. She needed to move on. The sooner she started distancing herself from me, the better. Sarcastically, I asked if she had already found my replacement. She nodded and said yes. It was a man she had known for a long time, and now she saw him as a potential partner. She had already started going on dates with him. I can't even describe what I felt at that moment. It was like everything inside me broke. I realized my marriage had been a lie. I talked to my friend about everything, and he advised me to remove my wife from my list of beneficiaries. And let's stop calling her my wife. Let's just call her Jay. I removed Jay from all documents, including my company shares. She didn't know about them because I had planned to surprise her in retirement. By then, their value would have grown significantly. Fortunately, I never told her about them. Otherwise, she would have continued pretending to care just for the money. She asked how I was recovering and what my plans were. I replied that I was looking for a new place to live. Then I told her that the house where Jay and her lover currently live doesn't belong to me. When she heard that, her eyes lit up. I immediately knew what she was planning to do. She thanked me and left. The next morning, my phone blew up with calls and messages from Jay. In her voice messages, she was screaming, "Why did you lie about your health? Why didn't you tell me you had recovered? Why did you hide from me that you own a stake in the company?" Her panic was so pathetic it was almost funny. Then she came to my office. I saw her through the glass meeting room, but told my secretary to make her wait a couple of hours. I know it sounds cruel, but I enjoyed watching her get nervous. Everything had turned upside down. Just a few months ago, I was living in the same state of anxiety and despair, watching her get ready for dates and come home drunk. When she was finally let into my office, she burst in and started yelling, repeating everything she had said in her voice messages. I listened, but inside, I was just savoring her anger. It didn't come from love or pain, it came from desperation. I smirked and asked how long she had been cheating on me. She was silent at first, then tried to lie, saying it only started after I got sick. I gave her a look that made it clear I knew the truth. I made her admit that she had been seeing her lover for 2 years and asked if she had only stayed with me for money. She confessed that they were just friends and that she only slept with him after finding out about my terminal diagnosis. I said, "Wow, so your husband is dying and you decide to sleep with someone else?" She kept lying, but I pushed her until she finally told the truth. She broke down crying and started begging me to take her back. She admitted that I didn't have significant savings, and when she found out her lover had inherited $1 million from his father, she switched to him. But he didn't want to leave his wife until Jay proved she wasn't just a gold digger. So she offered him the house if he left his wife and married her. Basically, she was trying to scam him, but his wife found me in time and exposed the whole truth. I smiled and asked her to leave. She then suggested we meet for dinner. I refused and told her to leave again. Then she said, "Now that everything's settled, let's start over. I have no complaints about you anymore." She was trying to guilt trip me, but she forgot that she was no longer my wife and that I no longer had to dance to her tune. I asked her to leave, or I'd call security. To be honest, there is nothing more satisfying than seeing the humiliated face of a cheater. I'll post an update once I've fully settled into my new life. Update 3. Hey guys, I'm beyond excited to share this update. I'm officially divorced. Since my diagnosis, I have lost almost 25 pounds. This is largely due to my lifestyle. I was so busy making money for my family, well, for my ex-wife, that I completely neglected my health. And what for? She left me as soon as she thought I was dying. Last time, I wrote about Jake coming to my office and begging me for another chance. Actually, after our meeting, her lover's wife immediately went to him and revealed that Jay was just after his inheritance. Until that moment, he had defended her because she let him move into the house. But when he found out that the house was just a rental, he felt betrayed. On top of that, it turned out that Jay had lied to him about many things just to trap him. She really was with him just for his late father's money. But his wife stood her ground. She wouldn't let Jay get that money, as it was meant for their children. In the end, the lover's wife got rid of Jay for good. I don't know how things are going with the lover and his wife now. She used to keep me updated, but we don't talk anymore. I asked her a few times how she managed to forgive his cheating, but she didn't want to discuss personal matters, so I didn't push it. Meanwhile, my ex wife tried everything to restore our relationship. She called, wrote letters, and spammed me with messages. When I got tired of it, I just blocked her everywhere. Then, after finding out that I was moving into my own place, Jay started showing up at my office and sending flowers and gifts. The thing is, she has no job. The house lease expires in a couple of months. One of the neighbors told me that Jay had been renting out one of the rooms to some guy for a year. Apparently, that's how she's been surviving. What else she's doing to support herself? I don't know. Maybe she found another way to make money, but I don't care anymore. Now I understand that everything in life happens for a reason and always for the better. My health is good. I bought myself a place, a small 2 bedroom penthouse, but it's cozy, and I furnished it exactly how I like. I couldn't be happier. Many people are advising me to start dating again. I haven't started yet. Some younger colleagues at work recommended dating apps for people over 45 who are starting a new life. I even installed one, but I'm not sure if I'm ready to dive into the modern dating world yet. I've also been warned that there are a lot of scammers on these apps, so I'm a bit cautious. I don't want to end up in another mess. If you have any advice or recommendations, I'd love to hear them. Thanks for all the support and kind words. Let me know what you think about this story in the comments. And now let's move on to the next one.